help me give a warm welcome to the Managing Director and GM East African, Cripin Achola. And Mr. Cripin, I'll come for tips on how to dress.
Thank you very much. Hello, can you guys hear me? No, here. I like the big mic in solidarity with the previous speakers, and because I'm a fan of D&I. I was actually sitting there and looking at my job title, and I think it's the longest in Africa. All right. I think before I start off, I'd just like to recognize the BAT crew in the house and make sure you're not poached. Yeah. But I think starting off, just a brief introduction in terms of who's standing in front of you today. I think I'll rather point out what's not on the slide, because all of you can read. Yeah, even the guys with optical cover at the back. Yeah. But I think what's not on the slide is I'm a married man to one wife and a father of an adult. I've been quite fortunate on my journey. Started off in Unilever as a clueless management trainee. Moved into BAT, where I was fortunate by the age of 30 to be sitting on the leadership team as the head of marketing. And more recently, I've had the privilege of running one of the biggest companies in Africa, and East Africa specifically. And beyond that, being the first African and Kenyan and black person to run the company. No pressure. I think for the avoidance of doubt, specifically for AJ and Nancy, I didn't just stay in BAT 20 years. Both your companies actually gave me job offers and for exactly the roles you're doing today. So I'm in BAT by choice. You can also say I took a holiday. All right. I'm a marketeer, and I can't waste an opportunity. Welcome to BAT. We'll be accepting CVs during the reception. All right, so guys, I've got the graveyard shift, yeah? Because I did a research a couple of years ago. The closer you are to dinner, the less attention. I don't know if that's why they put the politician last. Yeah, but when William asked me to come talk here this evening, I couldn't say no. Yeah, because William and I were classmates in university, and he knows a few of my secrets. So I had to come. Yeah. So I think let's get to the topic at hand. What is effective leadership and in the digital age? Yeah? And maybe before I get into my presentation this evening, I'd like to ask, how many leaders do we have in the audience tonight? Yeah, it's always the same. There's some guys who put their hands straight up. There's some who are, yeah, and the others who never put it up. But we're all leaders. Sometimes we're just even leaders of our own self. And if tonight you're looking for new stuff, I'm going to say sorry, you can leave the room now. All I'm going to do is going to tell you, things that you probably know, but from my own twist. And the way I'm going to look at it is that in my journey, in terms of effective leadership, in digital age or not, there are basically 6 things you have to get right if you're going to excel. Yeah? So you're going to have to build participation and accountability. You'll have to provide direction, clarity, and purpose. Thank you, AJ. That's going to be a very short chapter. Empower people to experiment, innovate, and execute. Build bridges, and more importantly, find solutions. You're going to have to run agile teams and make fast decisions. And last and not least, you're going to have to constantly evolve as an individual and make sure your organization is evolving. So these are the 6 things I'm going to take you through. But before I go there, because it's kind of one of the questions I always get asked, what is leadership? What do you do? When you come to the office, between drinking coffee and sending emails, what do you really do? Yeah? And there are 3 things I do as a leader, and more importantly, as an effective leader. The first thing is I make sure the whole organization and every single individual who works in that organization knows where the organization wants to go and what, as an individual, they're contributing to where that organization wants to go. So that's very important. In BAT, we love calling it line of sight. There's a line and there's a sight, and you connect it. The second thing I do is I make sure that there are adequate resources in the organization to achieve the targets or the results we're chasing. It's a waste of time giving people a target and they don't have the resources or competencies or capability to meet it. That's the second thing I do. The third thing I do is I breathe the right oxygen into the room. I make sure people are motivated, people wake up every day with a fighting spirit, and even when they fail, they can stand up and do it again. That's what I do. So, let's talk about what leadership looks like in the digital age. Yeah, and so there'll be the 6 points that I'll take you through. I'm standing between dinner and CVs being given. Yeah. So I think starting off with the first one, which is really around building participation and accountability. Yeah. In the digital age, things are changing fast. Trust me, I know it. You should see how I go to work. I'm very fortunate. I'm one of those Kenyans who have outsourced fighting the matatus to somebody else. So I have a driver. But I'm in my car. The radio is on. I have an earbud in my ear, trying to read an audiobook, trying to upskill. Yeah. I have my Twitter feed on, seeing what's happened when I was asleep. And I'm checking out if Igade has put a billboard up since the last day I drove on that road. I'm just trying to keep up because the world is fast-paced and moving quickly. I kid you not. Today, this time last year, we were still in May. That's how fast the world is moving. Yeah? And what does it mean, especially from a digital age? The biggest thing I've seen, over my career journey from a digital age is information has become democratized. Everybody has information. Back in the days, when I was more junior, they used to say information is power. Then it evolved to say that the first to know has the advantage. But now, everybody knows. Yeah? In the morning before I'm going to work, my son is telling me, there was this story about BAT in Indonesia. I didn't even know. Yeah? That's how much information is coming through. And with this, what does it mean? Yeah? It means the good old days of you as the leader knowing everything is gone. And what it means now, everybody knows, as a leader, what you have to do is empower your team. You have to enable your team to make decisions. You have to allow your team to contribute. The days of you being the custodian of knowing everything is long gone in a digital age. Yeah? So people have to take a lot more ownership of things and accountability, but you as a leader, you have to empower them. Yeah? And beyond empowerment, because, that's a very big word. For me, what does empowerment really mean? Yeah? And for me, what empowerment means is that you make people care about what they're doing. When people know what they're doing, they will do it. Yeah? And it's not just about people, but it's about teams. Okay? And maybe I'll give 2 or 3 examples from BAT, what we do to try to empower teams to do great things. Okay? The first thing is that me and my leadership team every month look at teams that have done stunning things, and we reward them or recognize them, depending on what the quantum is. I will never sit in a meeting where we're rewarding an individual, because individuals do good things, but teams do great things. I'm chasing the great. I think the other one is that whilst you're driving teams, you can't forget the individual. Yeah? You cannot forget the individuals. The individuals need to feel recognized and important. And I'll just maybe point out 2 things that we do, for example, to trying to recognize that individual. I think the first one is that if I look at my factory workers, they just don't have uniforms. Every single factory worker has his name on his uniform. Because he's not a factory worker, he's an individual. The second thing that maybe I'll just call out is I'll remember when I was recalled to join BAT, and it's something I've always done when I've joined any new organization. I ask for two things. The first thing I ask is, show me last year's performance, key issues, stuff that's not in the annual report, because that's in public domain. The second thing I ask, is for a pack with a photo of every individual who works with that company, their name and their role. You can guess between the two, the one I cram before I show up on day one, the people one. Yeah, so I think you have to build participation, accountability through teams, but you never forget the individual. Moving on to the next one, and I think I spoke about it at the beginning in terms of what's my role as an effective leader. And it's to make sure there's direction, clarity, and purpose in the organization. Yeah, at BAT, they call me the tribal leader, but the tribe is BAT. All right, so what does this mean? Yeah, in a digital age, it's very easy to make the mistake that it's about technology. Digital age or not, it remains about the people. Yeah, technology is only an enabler. And what does that really mean, enabler? It does really two things. It makes things happen faster, and it makes things more visible earlier on than they would have been. But without the right people looking at what's coming through out of the technology, there's really nothing you've done. Yeah? So I think that it's very important that we never forget about the human element of technology, because it's consumed by a human being. Yeah? And I think, looking at it further, you have to make sure that the technology that's coming out of that is enabling you and the people who work in the right organization to make the right decisions for all stakeholders. It's not just about money. Purpose cannot just be about money. It has to be about impact. Either you're impacting your employees, their families, yourself, your consumers, your shareholders, but you'll be having to be using that technology to drive a direction that has impact. Yeah? Every leader, I'm one of those leaders, you have to energize your people. Yeah? And technology is one of the medias you can use to do it. So I think for us as an organization, we've looked for ways to continue to use technology to have that engagement, because I run East Africa. I have people sitting in Mauritius, in Rwanda, Uganda, and we have to connect with them. Yeah? So what we do is, we have a fully fledged town hall that we run on a digital platform, but to keep it relevant, we run it with themes. So it's just not me standing there saying we delivered X% in profit growth and percentage what in sales, but the idea is really to try to use it to drive connectivity. Yeah? And I think it goes back to the empowerment of the people. Yeah? When you look at direction, clarity, and purpose, my job is to make sure it's there. My job is not to be the one to create it. I don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. I've employed very smart people. You saw them. Yeah? Nancy, you saw them. Yeah, so they're smarter than me. Yeah? But I think the second one is that once you have given people clarity and purpose and direction, you have to step out of the way. And one of the things I do as a leader is that when I'm with my leadership team, I will sit in that room and I'll give them purpose, direction, and clarity, and I'll step out of the room. And I'll tell them I'm going to walk around, and greet the organization. I'm coming back in 2 hours. You tell me how we'll get there. That's their job. Yeah? And it motivates them that they are the ones who are coming up with how they're going to deliver the direction. All right. Let's talk about empowerment, experimentation, and innovation. I think somebody said it today. You innovate or die. I think it was AJ. Well, I call her AJ. I'm allowed to. She used to work for me. Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I don't really think it's about innovate or die, but innovation is going to be disruptive. And you have to choose whether you want to be the disruptor or the disruptee. That's up to you. Yeah? But it's important that you don't also react to everything. Sometimes, you say, X did this, why can't we? We have a bigger budget. No, you don't have to chase everything. And this lines back into your whole clarity of direction, purpose, and goals. 'Cause for me, that's one of the biggest issues I've seen, where there's a temptation to see disruption, and that becomes your trigger to change. Your trigger to change should always be your consumer, not what is disrupting. If your consumer is being disrupted in a manner that you think has a significant long-term challenge, then that's okay. You change with the consumer. Yeah? The role of a leader gets very cloudy when innovation is disrupting. Okay? It's very cloudy. Yeah? But what great leaders have to do, yeah, is you have to stay focused on the present, but visualize the future. Okay? And you create a roadmap around it. I'll give you a story that kind of brings it home, or brought it home to me. Many moons ago when I was a young man, I think it was a Friday, I decided, I saw my wife, yes, I'll sanitize it, with a group of friends. We were going to go to Naivasha. Everybody was excited. Somebody brought food, somebody brought the drinks, somebody brought the entertainment that remains classified. But we were going to Naivasha. Okay? So, Saturday morning, I'm the one who was driving because I think I had a company car. Yeah, I was lucky. Yeah. So, I get into my company car, I pick up John, James, and Paul, and entertainment, and we start hitting the road onto Naivasha. And everything is nice and glory. We're laughing. We're telling jokes about what we did last night. Yeah. We get into Limuru. It starts getting a little misty, but it's okay. Our favorite songs are playing on the CD player. 12 changer. But do I say? But the fog gets thicker as we drive. But we're following, I think it was a 4x4. One of those cars AJ drives now. Yeah? So the tail lights were on, the fog light, I could see red lights. My job was just to stay in the middle of those two red lights in front of me. It was fine. The music was on. Then, the unexpected happened. The car in front of me, this Range Rover or whatever it was, turned. I became lead car. And there were other cars behind me. All of us just following each other. Now, the fog got worse. Everybody in the car went quiet. Somebody even had the audacity to put off the music. When you drive your own car and somebody else is on the radio, it doesn't work. When they notice there's a problem here, they put off the radio. The speed decreased. Some people in the back are pretending to sleep. Yeah, but I was on my own. On my own. But there were cars behind me following me. I had people who were previously cheerleaders who have gone quiet. And then we hit Kinungi. And the downhill started. And the skies became blue. And everybody else was back in the game. That's what leadership feels like. When it's good, you're many. Following is easy. When you're your own, it's different. But when you go through, everybody's back. That's what leadership feels like. So, well, for the sake of time, let's move on to that. Building bridges and finding solutions. Yeah? Technology has made the world interconnected. Yeah? Beautiful. Love it. But so what? Yeah? It is what you do with that connectivity. Yeah? And that connectivity, if it's not allowing you to drive clarity, it's a waste. If it's not allowing you to do something faster, it's a waste. If it's not allowing you to tap into other people's experiences, it's a waste. If it's not allowing you to drive engagement and commitment, it's a waste. So be careful what you use the technology with. If it doesn't drive diversity, inclusion, and open-mindedness, you have missed the game. Yeah? Rapid transformation is happening to individuals, happening everywhere, which means you have to be more inclusive because people have more to contribute than they did in the past. Yeah? So that becomes extremely important. And this goes just beyond functions. It has to go across industries. Yeah? I mean, how many times in a meeting I say, but where are they, Jake? Talk to her. What are they doing in the breweries? Yeah? She's our ambassador there. She might come back. You never know. Yeah? We'll talk over the food upstairs. Yeah. But I think the most important thing is that as a leader, you have to remain open-minded because stimulation can come from anywhere. And I think more importantly is you have to drive diversity and inclusion because the stuff I'm looking at through technology is very different from what my brand manager is looking at and what the management trainee is looking at. But when I bring all of us together, you can imagine the amount of knowledge we bring together collectively. So for me, diversity and inclusion is something that technology has fostered, and we have to drive it. All right. Moving on to number 5, second last. It's all around agile teams and decision making. Yeah, looking at the clock and realizing I'm standing in front of dinner. Yeah, I think for me, agile teams are teams that can change quickly because the situation has changed or the circumstances has changed. And for me, I think the most important thing an individual or a team and an organization can do is to make timely decisions. If any of you ever find yourself in front of me for an interview, I will give you one of my killer questions in terms of how I'd make a decision whether I want to hire you or not. One of the questions I'll ask you is, in your current role, what is the most significant decision you can make without referring to your boss? And the bigger the impact of the decision, the higher of the attractiveness of you to me. Because that's what I want. I want people who can make decisions. Yeah, because the situation is moving so fast. If you're going to be waiting for me, it's too late. The situation has changed. Our decision is irrelevant. Yeah? So empower yourself to make decisions. So sometimes you have to go say sorry. Yeah? Sometimes you'll get into hot water. I have 2 warning letters in my file, yet I'm still the CEO. Yeah, because I made some decisions that people didn't like. But the organization moved forward. It's okay to make a bad decision. But please, don't make it twice, because that's a different thing. All right. So I think, just in terms of winding up, and not boring the crap out of you, I think the last one really, guys, is if you really want to thrive in this digital world as a leader, you have to constantly evolve and reskill. Yeah? It's you as an individual. It's you and your teams. Yeah? If you live in the glory of past success, that's inertia. Yeah? In BAT, my sales team hate me because I say every time they close a month, they can only celebrate for 24 hours because the next day we're back to 0. Yeah? Because that was yesterday's result. Yeah? But I think you also have to have the nimbleness to adapt. Change is really hard. Especially as you grow older. But if you keep making decisions, if you keep upskilling yourself, it makes it easier. Yeah? And the digital world allows you to make it even in a more safe environment. Yeah, you can go and watch that YouTube alone. Nobody cares what you're watching, but you're learning something. It's okay. Yeah? But I think that if you are going to be a great leader in the digital age, you have to make sure you're evolving and upskilling, and your team too. And maybe just to bring it home by 2 examples. When COVID hit in March of 2020, yeah, I actually chose to go back to school. I registered at Strathmore University for my MBA, yeah. And when I joined BAT, everybody was asking me, "You're the CEO of the company. What the hell are you doing an MBA?" But I said, "I'm upskilling. I'm going back to check what changed from the time I was classmates with William to today." Yeah? I was also going to network and meet people whom I don't have a hierarchy to, a reporting line, who can teach me things in a safe environment. Yeah? And I discovered a few things. I decided now marketing is called strategic marketing. When I did it, it was just called marketing. And nowadays, you guys are calling yourselves strategic marketeers. Another thing I discovered is, Andrew, there are no more 4 Ps, eh? There are 7. And the Ps of marketing and product are different. I've upskilled. I know more than I did. Yeah? And I'm very proud to say I finished in April, and I'm now looking for the next thing to upskill me. I think another example of what we have tried to do at BAT is it's very easy to pay lip service to telling people go upskill yourselves, or you pay a cost for them to go for a week somewhere exotic, yeah? But I think what we have tried to do is we have tried to legitimize the opportunity for people to upskill. So every Friday, between 3 to 5 on company time, everybody has their meeting blocked out on something we call Learning Fridays. Because that's putting your money where your mouth is, where you are expecting people to have 2 hours a week to upskill. No meetings, no whatever, it's in the diary. You can tell your boss, I can't accept a meeting at this time because it's Learning Friday, I'm learning. And I think that's quite powerful, yeah. So I think in terms of closing out, yeah, technology is one thing, but it's what you do with it. Leadership is good, but people are better. For you guys in marketing who are aspiring to break through, there's hope. Yeah, if anybody had thought a skinny kid with a funny accent and strange hairstyle could have run one of the biggest companies in Africa 20 years ago, 25 years ago, even me, I'm not sure I'd have put my money on them. But it's happened. Your dreams are valid. Thank you very much.
My name is Lilian Durango from EABL, and I wanted to ask about purpose. How do you frame purpose for a company like BAT, which is, for lack of a better word, a very controversial industry? How do you frame purpose for a company like you?
I think that's a very good question because at a global level, I'd say until about 2019, we struggled with that question. Okay? And it's, again, driven by the nature of the product that we sell. Yeah? And as an organization, we said that our reason for existence has to be to satisfy consumers. Okay? That's our reason of existence, adult consumers. And what we realized is that sticking onto our traditional product, which is combustible cigarettes, wasn't satisfying our consumers because of the health risks associated with it. Okay? And the consumers were changing, and we saw this accelerated during COVID. So our board, global board, re-articulated our strategy. Yeah? And our strategy said that we have to bring less risky products to market to our consumers, number one. Number two, it felt that we had too narrowly defined our category. Yeah, because our category had been defined as nicotine. Yeah, but what is nicotine if you really think of it in its rawest form? It's a stimulant, like coffee, Red Bull, and something else. Yeah, so what we have also decided as an organization is that part of our journey going forward is something called Beyond Nicotine, which means that in the near future, you'll be seeing products marketed by my company that have actually nothing to do with nicotine or cigarettes. So we have defined our category wider as stimulation. And it was a long journey, and it's been an awakening. But I don't know if that answers you in terms of we are evolving as our consumers evolve, and we're redefining the categories we play in.
A comment and a question. So comment. 2nd of April this year, I'm in Kisumu. I tell from Igori, very excited, talking about her job, and says that her job is to support farmers to improve their products so that we can buy those products. And she keeps going on and on. And then later I ask her, which NGO do you work for? And then she tells me she works for BAT. Just thinking, whatever oxygen you said you breathe into that organization seems to be working. Some feedback. Yeah. That's number one. Number two, the fog issue. So the fog issue, and I just thought it's a lot of work being a leader. It's stressful and it's difficult. And you talked about empowering, motivating, and all that. How do you then empower and motivate yourself as a leader in the midst of these difficulties? Thank you.
All right. I think that's a very important question because, sometimes as leaders, we're like doctors where you treat everybody and you forget yourself. Yeah? And, for me, there are 3 things that I would say that I do to empower and motivate myself. Okay? The first thing I do is I reward myself. Okay? Well, when I was a little bit younger, I'll give an example. Every month, the first thing I did when I got my salary is I would go to a music store on Moy Avenue. Yeah, I can't remember the name now. And that one, it's a old guys here. Yeah. And I would buy 2 CDs. Each of them was about 3,000 shillings, 6,000, not even 1% of my income. AJ said I was well paid. Yeah. But the joy I got listening to those CDs, now it was a 24 track, I'd moved up. To and from work was so rewarding. Yeah. It was almost a gift for myself of creating my personal space. Okay? So I think that's one. Okay? I think the second one is have hobbies or activities you're passionate about. Yeah? So for me, 2 of my hobbies is I love cooking, especially on Sunday, and I love gardening. Yeah? So those are things that keep me grounded. You will notice that a bit slightly introverted activities because I'm slightly introverted. But I find it in my personal space very enjoyable. I think the third one, for me, yeah, and probably the most powerful one, yeah, is when people, honestly, for no reason and with no provocation, walk up to me and tell me thank you. So the biggest reward I can get is when people recognize my effort and the impact it has had on them. That leaves me very, very fulfilled. Am I dismissed?
Ladies and gentlemen, one more time. I can see you have standing ovation. Yeah.